So I just wanted to do a quick breakdown of animating this ship. What I want to do is do a proxy version, so export a proxy out of, like a proxy as in a low-res version for Tvori. So Tvori probably won't handle the amount of polys, maybe, but that's not the point. So the style of this is to use a proxy ship and export that out, and so we can capture the animation in Tvori and also the camera animation, and then almost like repurpose that animation in Marmoset after the fact. So this will just be basically just a quick look at the design and then exporting out of Proxy. So yeah, it came out nice, this one. Cool. By doing it in part, like doing it as a proxy, and then using the high res that I've already done all the render layout for in Marmoset, it allows me to also work with the landing gear as well. So I mean, I can fold up and fold down the landing gear in the animation as well. So cool. All right. So center this. Okay, and then we're just going to hide the ground plane and just the ship. So export. We'll just do an FBX export, and we'll do 10%, which is, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't need to be very high res at all. So 295 might be a little bit too big. It only needs to be very light. So export. Export. We'll call this TV. Okay, so back in Tvori, I've just moved the ship into the main Tvori folder. There's a new feature which is instantiate, which is good because it puts it in the middle of the scene, which I think is great. We can look at the ship, and the design's quite simple. First off is freeze the base. We won't be using that anyway, but it's easy to do it that way. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, or 90 degrees, and then move it up so the wheels are sitting on the floor. Okay. All right, cool. So what I'm looking at doing is basically doing a shot that we may do a shot like this, where we pull the ship in, coming from this angle, and then landing and dropping like this. So you know, like basically I want to have a framing like this, right? That well, a framing a little bit like this, which is that's kind of like where we want to sit for the edge of the shot, for the last point of the shot. And with the camera, we want to follow it in, looking at it come around and then landing in this point here. So you know, to get an idea, obviously a great thing to do is to use these curves and to maybe throw in an angle or a shot like that. This could be a little bit wider. Let's come in from a little bit longer out further and come in like that. So cool. All right, so you can leave that curve there, which is quite helpful, and then bring out the animation timeline and grab the ship here. I tend to animate backwards sometimes, which is really helpful because this is the last point we want to capture, and it's a very valuable point to keep. So if we think about our frame range, which is we want to do, we can also block that out as well. So if we were to real-time animate an object, just a dummy object, let's say like this thing here, we can get an idea for the timing. So I'll just position this, probably turn off gizmos. So we want to come in and we want to bank in and slow and then drop down like that. So if we have a little play, come in like this, banking in, the nose tips up, and then it drops in and parks. Right, that's what we want to look for. And again, we run one pass of sketching out a line like an arc, and the second pass, which is let's see what happens when we pull it in and then land it and drop it down. So that's our. We started a little bit early with nothing. So shift the frames back to the start, and then can sort of play and see what that feels like. The good thing about this is that we could potentially parent the proxy ship to that object we've animated, but in this sense, I want to keyframe each curve with a bit more control of its movement. So what we'll do now is animate. Let me see, animating backwards. So this is the end of the shot, and we want to key the ship there, right? But then we want to come to the start, and we want to pull in, turn this off, pull in the ship this way, okay, and then we'll key it there, key it here. So now we have the end key and the start key, and we'll just get this and chuck this away. Oops, chuck that away, and we'll start to just position this because it's at its first frame, and we want to come in pretty quick. So come in quick here, like this, and just ignore the behavior for a minute, like that, and getting some funny loops. I don't want to get too confused with the looping here. This may not work, but it may work. So what happens? It should sort itself out. I think we're going to have an issue, but we'll see. Yeah, so it's gonna flip. It's probably gonna flip out. So I'll delete that last key, bring it up to here, and I mean, we could have duplicated the original, which I think we might do. Let's just duplicate this. duplicate. So we'll just use this as a final reference. Drop it down a little bit. Final reference piece, so we know where everything goes. Back to key, and then it's kind of like its last point there. Let's bring this here, clean up some of these curves. Same with this. Maybe extend it out a little bit. And in between these couple of frames here, we want to trying to struggle with this one today. Yeah, I've got a flip. So the flip's not good. I think what's happening with that is it's kind of like motion paths in here. Okay, so that's pretty good for the meantime. So I turn off keying because I just want to mess with the curves at the moment and rough out the landing, which is good because we can do that in the playback version, and use the reference curve as a guide to checking out how clean it's following our initial. Gotta be careful with these first ones because if I pull out here, I'm going to get my curve bezier pull out. So it's kind of best just to grab the ship and grab the object itself, and but you have to be in keyframe mode, and it will pick up the keyframe nicely. And off. And okay, so play back now. See what our timing's like, and also our last position, which hopefully is straight. So and line it up. Well, we can probably snap it. Snapping's pretty good. Snap it into place. It's actually a little bit higher. So a bit further down. Turn off. Snap. Drop it down so the wheels are hitting the ground. We'll cool with that. Okay. Try and select the original. Where is it, the original? It's almost like the originals. Get rid of that. And we can do a quick test playback. So comes in. See what its real time is like. It's very slow. And then comes in and then drops hard. So first thing we need to do is grab this and just start packing the frames tight and keeping what's long long. So maybe we want the bank Still very slow, so probably should have left the proxy, like the original like guide that we did earlier. So anyway, let's just push these in tighter, real tight. Okay, so fast in, a little bit of length on the bank, and then when you move these keys, you'll get some changes in the speed of the Bezier arc, which you want to just tidy up. That's cool. Let's sort of see what's happening there. Okay, that's a bit. It came in pretty quickly. What was that? It's endpoints there. So not a very long animation. So it's coming really quick there. So we check out. Yeah, see it's coming in super quick. Kind of want to get the arc to be slow, the bank. So the bank is quick. I need to change some of these rotations here and tidy up the keys of the bank. Yeah. Tidy up the line. Should have. See. Okay. Cool. And then check that again. Might hide. We'll leave the code there. It's coming super quick. Super slow. Great. Better. Because of the nose, it seems to, you seem to be wanting to watch its pitch here. So the pitch here is pretty, oops. Watch the pitch. Try to keep the pincers of the nose in clean. So that, nice clean. Cool. All right. So I think for demo purposes, that's pretty good. Drop it. Yeah. And just to make it a little bit more interesting, we can grab this first key and let's bring it right out here. And he'll come in really quick like this, right? Come in really quick. Move this key up a bit. Just tidy up the curve. And potentially this, yeah, see it comes in super quick like that, right? Boom, so straight in. That's nice. I like that. Okay, so alright, that's good. Okay, so the next part is to then add a camera. And the camera, which I'm still keen to see what Tvori is doing about the camera. It's good, but there is a situation where the camera's not exporting correctly out of Alembic or FBX. So what I tend to do to combat that sort of issue is I'll grab the camera, position it sort of in a central space like this, and if we look at the camera and we look at the field of view, it's a pretty good guide to use a like a pyramid. And with the pyramid, what I do is I try not to select everything at once. Right, is I use this to as a guide for the camera, and we look at the frustum, and we try to almost match that in a way. We can get a very good get a very good representation of the original frustum, and use that to our advantage. Let's see here. Oh my gosh. Tvori gets a bit sticky sometimes, so it's almost like you think you're selecting something, but then you're actually selecting a lot of things at the same time, and then you have to just deselect, which is fine. But cool. So I take the frustum, center it as much as I can in the camera here, and then I link this object to the camera. So link to the camera, and now when I pick up the camera, it goes with it. The reason why I do this is I want to export just this object to Marmoset. I don't want to export the camera, like as in the animation. Because what happens is you can export this camera frustum, and it gives you an idea of its position and direction. And when you export this into Marmoset, you can just parent or group a camera to this object, and it will follow, and you just rotate it into position, and the translate and rotation happens. Cool. So jet flies in. So as we said, the initial landing frame is here, which we want to appreciate that landing frame. Okay. And there's a couple of things I do with camera animation. Real time is really fun. So what we'll do with the real time is we'll start it off and we'll try and do a couple of takes. And record speed's good because it shows you can get a smoother record speed by going half speed. And what that does is we'll just stop this and we'll rotate the camera. Well, I mean, we'll make up the final shot after, and we'll grab this here, pull out, and let it come into frame from the right hand side. And we're just trying to do a couple of takes, and what I usually do is use the grab tool and I rotate as I'm holding the camera. So I might rotate and pull the camera in and follow out like that. So I won't do that just yet. I'll just try and do a couple of takes and get it right. So let's come in and get a bit of a feel for the camera shot. Drop in on that, right? So we have a look at that. Check that. Cool. All right. So at this point, what I'll do is let's get rid of this thing because that was fun and helpful. But now we want to the shot in. I'm pretty happy with that. Awesome. I'm going to leave it with that, because that's a pretty good take. So let me see. Right. So what we can do now is we can select this object here and turn this off. Oh, so when you're exporting animation, you want to make sure that you've got the length here is how much animation you're going to export into Alembic or FBX. For this one, I'm going to do FBX because I love Alembic. I'll do both. Let's do both. So anyway, I think sometimes the hierarchy layout in Marmoset follows FBX a little bit cleaner, but I could be wrong. So anyway, so this length here is important, and we want to follow or remember that how much animation we want to export is within this length. If we give it a little bit more off the end, then that allows us just a little bit of playroom for other stuff. Maybe we want to push the camera in, something like that. So put it about there, right? 36 seconds of animation. We grab the grab this object here, and we say export animation FBX. Okay, so it's gonna push through. Okay, done. Right, and then with this ship here, we want to do the same thing, and we select it. Right, yeah, export animation FBX. Okay, so I'm back in here just to tidy up a couple of things, because I forgot to mention a couple of things that were a bit more important. I did do a test with the locator in Marmoset, but it just doesn't see the locator. So what we're going to do is throw in a small sphere like this, just a tiny object, right? And that tiny object is doesn't matter how. It matters how big it is, but we want to hide it, right? So we want to put it just in there. I'm going to get rid of this. We want to go and find that object, which is this one. Right? Let's put it like in here, right? And what we want to do is we want to link it to the ship, right? To the ship. Hopefully it's linked. Yep. Okay. And what we want to use that for is in Marmoset is we want to be able to use it for reference, right? So reference. Reference. Okay. So the sphere is now called reference, and when the ship is pulling in, that object will go out with it as well. So let's go find it. Export this animation FBX. Okay, I have already done the camera, so the camera's already gone out, but just to go over that again is grab the camera, go to export, go to animation and FBX. So that's how you export that out. And from the earlier video, this object here is what's going to tag the animation, and you can use that in Marmoset because the camera doesn't come into Marmoset properly just yet. It's a really helpful thing. I think this is probably the easiest way to get camera animation out of Tvori into Marmoset. So cool. I'll see you in Marmoset. Okay, so here we are in Marmoset, and what I'm going to do first is just check my exports. So earlier I exported the camera. That's the camera. If we check that, we can see that it's moving. And that's what I'm saying with it doesn't export the camera, and you won't be able to choose it as a camera just yet from Tvori via FBX. So we're tagging another object that's parented to the Tvori real-time camera animation. The next import is the ship. So import the final ship out. And in there, we named an object reference, which is a small little sphere, which is inside the ship, as we can see here. Right? And it's a good thing because when we import it into the other scene, we can use that and we can hide the rest of this proxy ship. So, okay, so that's all working. I'll just mention it once, but in the scene I built yesterday, my scene units are centimeters, and Tvori is exporting out in meters, so we have to scale everything down by 0.01. Just it's something that I know from Houdini and Maya and things like that, and moving in and out, and the same thing applies in this instance, which is scaling things down. So cool. What we'll do is just it's all working fine. Ship comes banking in. Parks, camera animations there. So two of the things that we needed there. Just going to open the scene I built yesterday. Jump ship. Okay, so let's turn this down. Turn off the main camera focus. Fill it off. And we'll turn off GI for the moment as well. So render, turn off GI. Just speed the scene up. We're going to use the copy and hide the original. And transform has been moved over, so move that back to 0. Okay. So as you can see, this doesn't have any animation, and we're going to import the animation into the scene. So back to Tvori, and then stuff, export, final ship out, and camera. Import those both. Okay, so you'll see some strange things. So final ship out and camera. We're just going to quickly scale these, or we'll check where it is. So if we have a look at its placement, it's there, and the original scene is over there. And if we look, we can see that the scene units are way out. Right? So the reason why that is because this is in meters and this scene is in centimeters. To fix that, we select the object and scale it by 0.01 in X, Y, and Z. 0.01, 0.01, whoops. And we do the same with the camera. Scale that, 0.01, 0.01. Okay. So go down to the ship and see that things are at scale, and they're also in almost like in the opposite direction, which is fine. I'm going to move both of these objects down a little bit because they're a little bit higher than the ground. Just double check that's right. Yeah. Okay, and grab the original. And what we can do right now is, if this is the end point of the animation, we can grab the animation or the model we want to tag, and we can set it up right at its last point, which is just there. So, I mean, that's pretty much perfect. It already is there. So, 180. Okay. Right. You can hide the original ship out, except for the reference. So, hide all these objects because we don't want to see any proxy, and except for this here. Now we want to group the copy to the reference. So copy to the reference. You'll see there that the group sits under the reference, and we now can have a look at the animation, and the ship now flies with the reference, and there's no any visible artifacts. Now with the camera, we can do the same thing with the camera. And I'll look at positioning the camera at the start position of the animation. That will work. And just cross them around. Angle. A little bit hard to see, but it'll be fine. And try to get the right position. Looks good. Okay. Just double check. Seems like it's on the right angle. It's very faint and grey, but you know. Alright, so we take the main camera and we group it into the pyramid of the animation reference, and hopefully this works, right? So that punches in and the camera sits there and drops down. Now, I mean, that's working pretty good to me. The camera could be a little bit lower, so what I might do is switch out to the main, grab this and just bring the camera down a little bit and switch it out to the main, and down. Still could be a little bit lower. Let's bring it like that. There's not too many edits you can do to the camera, but this works okay. Cool. Alright. So yeah, so I mean that's basically that's how you do it. That's how I'm doing it. That's some nice effects, nice glow. It can be so much more tuning can be done with the design, with the animation and the timing, but it works for what it is. So I'll just render this out, and yeah, I'll attach it to the original tutorial or breakdown. So, cool. Thanks heaps.